Hey guys, welcome back to our second podcast. I will be talking about tips and tricks that I've learned throughout the years on how to save money. So I think the biggest thing is that people don't have enough patience for anything. So the first thing that they think of when they're like, oh, I need to save money is I have to save half of my check, or I have to save a lot. And so I feel like they end up trying that and it doesn't work because it's not realistic. You know, because everybody has bills, you know, so obviously you gotta be realistic and work your way into it. So I've always, basically like the way I've done it is I've always done the opposite, is instead of taking out a lot, I've always taken out a little bit, because like I said, it's realistic to me. And one thing that I've learned is, for sure, obviously we all know that, you know, you can't stop time, you can't rewind time. Time keeps going, so I figured if I put, you know, 5, 10, 20 bucks, you know, every day or every time I can, eventually like that pile's gonna stack and stack and stack, because again, you know, we can't pause time, we can't rewind time, and time keeps going, right? So I feel like sometimes it's just the way you see it, you know. Sometimes a lot of stuff is not rocket science, man. So that's something that I've been able to do. And it's worked for me. It's kind of like how I've told some people, you know, it's like going to the gym, you know. I always use that analogy of like, it's your first day at the gym, and you know, just because you can't bench 300 the first day doesn't mean you're not going to do it anymore. You know, so I think it's the same concept. You're not going to take out half of your check, you know, just to try to save it. You know, if anything, you know, you can, I don't know, put 5, 10 bucks aside every day, for example. And then one day you're gonna have a stack right there for emergencies or for whatever you want. And then once you get comfortable with that stack, you know, you can put another on the off to the side. So I think the biggest thing is people look at the number though, you know, oh, I have to pull out 300 or 500. And what I tell people is actually don't look at the number and actually get used to the system, you know, like train your brain, your mindset to let go of 5 or 10 or 20 at a time, and then eventually, before you know it, you'll actually just jump into it like nothing, you know. And eventually, you can have, like I said, a few different sections of savings, and you know, before you know it, I think you'll be able to make your life a little bit easier after that, you know. And so that's kind of something that I've done throughout the years, and it's helped me out. And yeah, man, that's kind of
cool. So
how it's worked for me.
What about people that don't feel like they have $5 or $10 to put aside each day?
That's a good question.
Does somebody cut out?
That's a good question. Yeah, honestly, I think at this point in life, I think everybody does. I think that's when sacrifice kicks in. Lots and lots of sacrifice, you know. Like, let's say people that get Starbucks, you know. I don't know, if you get 3 a day, do 1 a day, you know? And so, I mean, I think, like, all this also comes with sacrificing. It's not just you put money away, you know, because eventually we're all limited to a certain amount of what we, you know, earn and have. So you definitely got to prioritize on that end for sure. And like I said, I've sacrificed a lot to the point where, like, I don't really think about it anymore. So it's just, I know what I got to do, you know?
So I like what you said there about prioritizing.
Yeah.
How do you kind of figure out, you know, aside from the things that are obviously priorities and stuff, you know, rent, car payments, other bills and stuff like that, how would you help somebody define kind of what they should prioritize and where they should put their money and where they should not put it to be able to save?
I mean, I think the obvious, you know, like if you have a house payment, car payment, you know, phone, I think things like that. But for example, eating out every day, you know, like that's not realistic, you know? So I feel like, you know, along with the sacrifice, like I said, you know, maybe instead of buying 3 coffees, you're gonna buy 1 now. I think that rule of thumb is very important, because at the same time, since you're not used to sacrificing that much, it's a good thing to still like reward yourself occasionally, because I mean, that's just how we are as humans, you know, like we like rewards occasionally. We don't like to sacrifice, right? So that's something that I've always done. Like I'll go hard, like I'll sacrifice and I'll save if I have to for a certain project. But like let's say, you know, on a weekend I worked my butt off, you know, and I'm craving a hamburger or something, you know, I don't think about it. I go and I get it. But it's not every day, you know, because I gotta get back on focus and priority, you know.
Right.
So I feel like that's the thing with people is that they try to save a lot or they try to do something that they're not ready for. Like I said, you don't go into the gym first day and bench 300, you know, oh, I quit now. It's like, well, no, everybody knows that, you know, you're gonna take your time, you're gonna learn the technique and the form, you know, your breathing, the list goes on. And eventually you're gonna pay attention to the numbers, you know. You start from 10, 20, 30, 40 and up. So I think it's the same system with trying to save money, you know.
And some of the things you said there, I thought about like lions in the wild, how they don't eat every day.
Yeah.
They'll starve one day, you know, that's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, until they can kill something the next day, you know, the next couple
Yeah.
days, you know, some gazelle or something.
Yeah.
Down. And then the reason I thought of this is because you're saying like it's in our nature to want a little bit of a reward.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
Exactly.
with that. It's who we are.
Yeah. We just gotta balance.
He kills, you know, he hunts down his dinner and eats some of it. Of course he's going to. He gives to his family first.
Yeah.
He's going to eat some of his reward.
Exactly. So definitely balance is important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Kind of balance the amount you don't eat, but
Yeah.
you gotta reward yourself.
Yeah. But like I tell people too, yeah, I mean, at the same time, it obviously depends on how bad you want it, you know, just like anything else. Like one analogy that I've always liked to use is like the example of like a bully in school. You know, there's always that bully that's picking on another guy. And like, let's say, you know, he picks on him the first time and the guy doesn't do anything about it. And the bully picks on him again, a second, and a third, and a fourth. But eventually that guy's gonna snap. He's gonna do something. Why? Because he gets tired of it. You know, so I think it depends on what round you're living in mentally, you know, and only you can answer that. Like when you're tired, you know? So I try to apply that to anything else, you know? And so that's when you take action.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that analogy of like the bully and how much you can take to, because I think that with that, you know, like kid gets bullied and gets sick of it. Eventually, maybe he stands up for himself, you know, because
Yeah.
the grind of being beaten up.
But he makes that decision himself eventually.
Exactly. So
You
like
know?
a switch has to happen.
Yeah.
Change that mindset.
Exactly.
So the same thing with money, is you can live week to week and scrape and buy. And
Yeah, you can be complaining all you want.
Find all you want, you know, but eventually something has to. You gotta get tired of that.
Exactly.
Tired of living that way.
Exactly.
Not that you're being treated that way, you're treating yourself that way.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta kind of get tired of that and want to change something.
Something better for yourself.
And maybe that change is, you know, that you don't need to. Maybe you have money, you can splurge on the 3 Starbucks drinks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, deciding that at the end of the week or at the end of the month you don't want to be broke because you only get so much money from whatever and you've spent it. Well, then changing that decision that I'm not going to do that anymore because I want to put this aside. Because it does stack up.
Exactly. I mean,
$30 on coffee every day and you take 10 of it away.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, because I feel like, yeah, and because I just feel like people always want like, I don't know, like a special answer or something. I mean, it can be anything. Like, let's say, I don't know, something random, you know, I give you a shovel and you start digging every day. Like, what do you expect? You know, like what's gonna happen. And the more you do it and the more time passes. Same thing, like I said, if you put $5 to the side, you know, the stack's is small. You know, what about in 30 days? What about in half a year? What about in a year? What about in 10 years? You already know the answer, it's just a matter of doing it. So sometimes we don't do stuff because you're not sure if it's a yes or a no, or if, you know, I guess if it's the right direction. But with things like that, I don't know, like I said, it's obvious, you know, and money is a tool, so you have to control it, you know, don't let it control you.
So let's elaborate on that a little. and how now you know, instead of being part of the system, you can take control and decide to put some money aside. You know, money's definitely a system.
Yeah.
Numbers are systems, and you can play it as a system. And you can decide that, okay, so if it's about saving, you can decide to save money, and it's going to work, you know, in fractions, incrementally.
Right.
You know that if you put $5 away every day,
Right.
after a month, you're going to have $150.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
The end goal.
Yeah, you can read your future, basically, you know?
Right. Rather than just spending the money, but not
Yeah.
watching the numbers, just watching it here and there when you check your bank account to see that you're overdone.
Exactly.
But using that using what we know to, achieve a goal. So, how would you kind of expand on that? How, could we talk about making those decisions?
That decision?
With the system, knowing the actions to take, knowing.
I mean, I guess if I can answer that, I feel like people attach themselves too much to it. Because they'll be like, oh, well, I worked overtime, that's my money. Which it is, but at the same time, it's not, because you're going to pay your house payment, and then there it goes. You're going to pay whatever else, and then there it goes. So it was your money for a little bit, but it's a tool. So I feel like you have to accept the fact that it's half yours and half not. And it's not just fully yours. And so I feel like mentally that'll prepare you to make better decisions, sacrificing, financially, and I think later on, to invest. So like I said, money is a tool. It's not yours.
Right.
No,
I've got kind of a similar mentality when it comes to, reoccurring bills are the ones that I know are going to come out.
Yeah.
It's like, say I've got X amount of bills that
yeah.
Say it's $2,000 a month. All the bills that have to be paid, including food, gas, rent, all those expenses. There's a certain number.
Yeah.
Whatever that number is, you have to come up with that number. And,
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to pay it.
Yeah.
You're going to come up with that. And then once you get past that, maybe after that is like a little bit of profit that for yourself to buy stuff. But up until you reach that number, it's really not yours.
Exactly.
You owe it to somebody else. You owe it to the person that owns the house you're living in.
Yeah.
You owe it to the bank that owns the car that you're driving.
Exactly.
Or the insurance that you have to pay or whatever. So really, the money, like the way I joke about it is like, well, I got money, but it's gonna be gone before I actually have it.
Yeah.
Because whether it's,
you have to accept it.
Whether it's the 15th and the bill is due that day, or it's the first of the month, like that bill is going to be due.
Yeah.
And so it's already gone.
Yeah. For sure.
You could add up all your bills over a year and how much you expect to make, and already that that 30,000 is gone.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna come out in bills.
Exactly.
So it's definitely a tool, but like you said, you got to be kind of aware that like only part of it's really like yours.
Because there's always two sides to something. I like to think, I guess I kind of see it like, I just thought of it like in an analogy, like a rental car maybe. It's like that you're gonna pay X amount, for so many hours, and then it's gonna go back. Versus like you go and pick out a car from the dealer, that's gonna end up being yours after you're done paying it. So I feel like, you just gotta get comfortable with that and accept it mentally. And I think after that, you get to a point where you're not afraid, or you don't think about it as much to put money away, Like I said, anybody can do it, but 5, 10, 20 bucks, whatever you want. Realistically, you gotta do whatever works for you though, And, but people don't.
Might be able to put $100
But like I said earlier, it's like you don't go into the gym benching 300 your first day,
No, right. So you could.
You want to learn the technique and the form, Yeah, so you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And so before you know it, it's just a piece of cake. So it's the same thing. It's like, don't look at the number, if it's $1 or whatever, $4, whatever. I think at first it's just to understand it mentally. Just fall into the rhythm, just natural.
Yeah, so
just natural.
Kind of saying that rather than looking at the number, look at the process.
The process.
Yeah. Look at
just adapt to the system, to the routine,
the routine of it.
Yeah, and then before you know it, like maybe you'll have a stack over here of 5s, I don't know, and 5 months later you'll have one of 10s, and then now you got 2. Later on you'll do one of 20s, and then next thing you know you can, if you want a pile for like your insurance, one for your emergencies, one for vacation, it's just like, and then like you still got your actual check coming in, so you're still paying for like your normal stuff, So I feel like eventually you'll have like a pool of different, savings basically, and I mean, yeah, it's basically.
So that's kind of like, so that's a lot about savings, and how to save money that you've made and just have a little pool of money. What about, I'm going to kind of throw a curveball, what about paying off debt?
Okay.
That's kind of almost...
Paying off debt, okay. Yeah.
That's kind of falls in there too, because this is something I learned in high school. The snowball effect of paying off debt. Say you've got 3 credit cards, you're paying each of them, $10 a month or whatever, and you finish paying one off. Well, rather than taking that $10 that you would have paid that bill, and buying a coffee every day now because you're not paying that
right.
off, now you take that and you split it among other bills that you're paying.
Yeah.
So now, instead of 3 $10 debts, you've got 2 $15.
Yeah.
And now you're going to start working off that debt quicker.
Yeah.
And then, say once you've worked out that second one, now all of a sudden you're putting $30 towards that one.
Yeah.
Rather than just the 10, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 you're going to really kind of pay it off.
Yeah.
So, even you could kind of touch on how not to get in debt.
Yeah.
How saving can save you from needing, to get a credit card or whatever.
Yeah.
Or how, honestly, we could have a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
You can use it as a tool, in acquiring equity and stuff.
No, yeah, I mean...
Any insight?
On how to pay debt?
Any insight on, like, paying off debt, kind of side by side with saving money?
Yeah, well, honestly, like for me, you gotta do baby steps. So for me, I couldn't do both because I just couldn't. My hands were tied. I always had at least 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time just to kind of try to catch up with bills, let's say, But obviously, there's everything that applies to, sacrifice, consistency, hard work, dedication, all those things, right? But eventually, I think you gotta if you gotta get 2, 3 jobs, man, that's what you gotta do. And if you gotta put in overtime, that's what you gotta do. But eventually, that debt starts to pay off, right? And then once you're done with a certain debt, and then slowly, that's when the tips and tricks ideas that we've been talking about starts to kick in. But before I get ahead of myself, one thing that helped me, like tackle on like bills that we had to majorly pay for, was I guess I asked myself the question one time. I was like, okay, so I always hear everybody saying that they're in debt, but I've never really heard anybody say I was able to pay off my debt or I got out of debt. So I guess I just asked myself the big question is like, so how is it that everybody can get in debt, but I've never heard anyone say that they've actually gotten out? And so I took that as a challenge. And so I was like, okay, well, if it's normal to pay off a house in 30 years, what if I pay it off, in less than half of that? Like, I'm all ears now, like that's just a challenge that I took up upon myself. And so I guess that just motivated me. I like to talk to myself a lot of times like that with certain things. It can be like anything else. Like, let's say if someone asks you, hey, Zach, your business is not going to do so well next year, versus, hey, Zach, I bet you that your business is not going to be successful next year. Like which one hits harder, right? Just because I told you that I bet you, you're going to be like, oh, heck no, like it's game on, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how I took it with debt, Like I said, everyone gets in debt. It's a thing to do. It's needed. But how do you get out? And so that's when I tackled it down. And I worked my butt off, man. I made sure that it was a done deal. I would eat, sleep, and breathe it until I executed on it, man. And so it's not that hard, really. It's not that hard, man. It's just how bad you want it. Like I said, I already knew what round I was living in mentally. I was tired of it. And yeah, man, I got stuff done. I took action. And so, yeah, like I said, I guess it just depends. You can't pay your debts and then save necessarily. At least for me at the time, I couldn't do that. It was specifically just trying to pay the biggest debt off, you know? And then, like I said, I had 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time. Eventually, after so many years, there was certain debt that was paid for, and then, you know, time to save.
Right. So no, and absolutely. So that's why I thought I'd bring it up, is because we've got that. You know, saving probably isn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
People don't ever save money when they're in debt.
Well, then it's patience, though, too. You know, it's patience, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you've got debt, you know, you're paying off that debt. Typically, don't have like extra money left over. If you do,
Yeah.
you should be paying off that debt. So that
Exactly.
you can
Exactly.
break down that time frame that you pay.
Right.
So, but then afterwards, say you're paying, you know, student loans or, you know, a house mortgage or whatever, and you pay that off. That's when you get that extra money now.
Yeah.
Because you're not paying it.
Exactly.
So now you can take that money that you were paying in debt
Saving it.
and save it.
Yeah. And like I said, man, it's honestly not that bad. Like, let's say, you know, there's a debt that you owe and you're going to be tied down for 2 years. You know, you're putting in overtime, you're giving more or whatever. To me, when I would be in a scenario like that, I didn't take it as a bad negative thing, because I knew that it was temporarily, you know? So I knew that it wasn't going to be like that forever. And so, versus like a whole lifetime, you know? Like, let's say a house, you know, we all know that we get stuck paying for a house for 30 years. But let's say you want to pay it in 15 years, so you sacrifice so many years paying extra, giving extra. But, you know, it's temporarily, so it's going to save you in the long run, you know?
Right.
So I think it's worth it.
Same thing for twice as long.
Exactly.
Do it
Yeah.
Twice as much.
Yeah.
Half as long.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's worth it, you know? So, I mean, I try to look at the picture like that versus like, oh man, like, what do you mean I have to sacrifice? What do you mean I have to like give up this and give up that? And so,
Because you're already used to it then.
yeah,
So,
well,
then isn't, oh, now you have to give up. You've already been giving it.
yeah, exactly.
So it's always,
But I mean, but the thing is, I know my answer. I know what my future is going to look like, you know, because it's not rocket science,
right.
like I said, you know. And so, yeah, man, that's kind of what I've done. I guess one of the biggest things too is you can't feel sorry for yourself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest things, man. You can't feel sorry for yourself, because I don't know. It's kind of like that question, you know. If someone tells you that your business is not going to make it versus I bet you your business is not going to make it, it's just, I kind of look at the challenge straight into the eye and I just take it as it is, you know, no questions asked, and
Right.
nobody gives a crap, you know.
Right. So everything you as an individual, you do, you know, definitely comes down on some, that accountability and, like you said,
Yeah.
just taking on that responsibility and looking at it.
Yeah.
That's definitely huge.
Yeah. And I mean, like a lot of it too, obviously, you know, everyone lives a different life. I feel like, you know, I had to grow pretty quick and fast, so that's when I was like,
So I'm definitely like fueled by challenge.
yeah.
Tell me like I challenge you to do something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be more inclined to
Doing
finish
everything
it
that you can,
and
yeah.
finish it stronger.
Yeah.
And if it's just like either myself or somebody telling me like
Yeah.
I need to do something.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'll get to it.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, like I said, like some of the biggest challenges that I had, I took it as that. It wasn't even like that I just like said, hey, you know, I take it as a challenge, but as time passed by, there was one specifically that I was like, man, it's obvious, it's a straight up challenge, and I took it on. I know a lot of people probably don't know, but after my dad passed away, my brother was stuck paying my mom's mortgage, and so I think my dad paid for it probably like a good, I don't know, 10 plus years, you know, I don't know, no more than 15 probably. And so, no, yeah, probably like a good 10 years. And then my brother probably took over for like another 8 to 9 years. And then finally I got my business established. And that's when I took it over. And, you know, I go over to my mom and I'm like, hey, you know, like, I'm now taking over the house payment, you know, like, what's the balance look like? And I mean, I don't remember exactly, but there was like still quite a bit of balance, you know. I think we still owed for like another 6 years in total. And so at that point, I was honestly just so tired of it because my brother was going to school at the same time full time, working full time in Tri-Cities, and so so he would get 2 checks in a month. So one check would be just specifically for gas, and the other check was to pay the house. But the gas check wasn't enough, so my mom had to take some of her money from her check, so he had enough gas money to go to work. And so that was a cycle for like 8-9 years. Yeah, and then he'd go to school and he'd pass out, and so it was a big challenge. And so finally, I mean, I couldn't take up all this weight at an earlier stage because I wasn't prepared. I didn't have a foundation. That's why I had up to 4 jobs. Trying to figure it out. Right. So I wasn't so unstable. But and then eventually, I was probably like 2 years into the business when I told him, I was like, hey, you know what, I feel somewhat okay as far as my business, and so I pretty much took it over. And like I said, I think we needed like 6 more years when I started paying for it. And I gave myself a challenge. Because like I said, I was just fed up with it. I was like, this is so many years of just struggling, barely getting by. And so I told myself, I remember talking to myself, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pay this debt off in a year. And then like a few seconds passed by and I was like, nah, it's too long. I was like 10 months. And so literally like 10 months came around and yeah, finalized on that debt. But it's like, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you spend. And man, I was working crazy though. I was working like all day, 7 days a week. I wouldn't go anywhere. I just made sure that my car had enough fuel from the house to the shop and back. And as soon as I started working, I just worked until I finished, whatever time that was. And I did that for 10 months, just all day. I remember like I'd go home and I'd like lay in my bed and I'd take like a deep breath because it seems like I was just so focused, all day for so many hours that I didn't realize how focused and how much I was pushing my body mentally and physically. And so I would like gasp for air as soon as I laid down. Yeah, it was crazy. But like I said, it's just, I was just mentally tired of it already, And so there was no next round or nothing. I was like, this is it, man. Like if I can't pay this off, we're gonna lose everything, And so, I mean, I didn't have to pay it off that soon, but like I said, I took it as a challenge. And I think that was one of the biggest goals that I've knocked out. One of the fastest too. So now I know what I'm capable of. I'm not afraid of numbers, because I used to be like, what do you mean 6 more years? Like, dang, how much is that, Now it's just like I said, don't look at the number. It's just about jumping into the rhythm, understanding the system, accepting it mentally, and just get to it, man. Take action and execute.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Big bro, that's quite a bit. That's pretty, kind of eye-opening.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's a couple things that interested me in that. You had said like maintaining focus and stuff too, and that's big on a lot of different.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about savings or working, whatever. But what about advice on that more specifically? So keeping a level head and keeping focused on an end goal of like what you're trying to save for, or the reason you're trying to save, or even just the act of maintaining that good pace on continuing to save and save and save, because it takes acting to save. It takes an action of saying I'm not going to spend this, or by putting it aside, whether it's cash or in a savings account, but then continuing that time and time again. Because I feel like saving sometimes is like New Year's resolution.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
Save a little bit, and then it goes out the window.
Yeah, it goes out the window.
So how do you maintain a good record with yourself of continuing to save?
Well, honestly, for me, I guess after that, in a way, I've always felt all the weight and the pressure in a sense, in my family. So, like I said, like the case with the house, like if I didn't take care of it, like I was the last person in line. And so I kind of kept that idea too, you know, like if I slack and like we end up needing something, an emergency or something, I don't have any backup. Like if I turn around, I'll just look at myself. Like that's my hope, you know? So I think that's what scares me, at the same time motivates me, you know, is I don't have that backup plan, you know? So I'm so afraid of landing in that scenario that I'm doing the exact opposite and everything to not live that ever again. Because like they say, you know, it's like if you're born poor, it's not your fault, but if you die poor, you know, that was all up to you, you know, that was all in your hands. Not saying, you know, that you need to be rich or anything, but just not struggling, man, you know, just be okay, you know.
Yeah, definitely like that. I like that saying you said right there, because I think, you know, especially once you're an adult, everybody's got a equal opportunity to make something of themselves and make money and stuff. And so, you know, if you are born without, that's not your, like you said, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
But to continue doing things in a way that either you know aren't right, or to maintain doing something that you don't know isn't right, and not saying you know doing something right, like that's an issue.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, man, like to me, everyone's case is different. You know, like I said, like seeing how my brother was working and he didn't have enough funds, I'd actually be in the room and I would hear my brother and my mom talking about like, hey, well, how much do you need? And basically, man, like I felt useless, you know? In other words, I felt useless and I wanted to help, but I couldn't. And so I think that's one of the worst feelings, knowing that someone needs help and you can't do anything. And so that's something that stuck with me, is that like, I don't want to ever feel that, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever feel that.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like you just mentioned too, with you know, maintaining and savings or continuing to add to that, so that you end up in that situation.
Exactly.
I think you know, maybe not everybody learns that, but you know, some people do through just struggle and
Exactly.
out firsthand, or maybe they've seen it and they're smart enough to realize that and like learn that. But like, unless you have those two, like you're gonna go through it. You're gonna learn it one way or another. And so it's better to learn it sooner than later. So you don't have to submit yourself to that struggle. I've definitely gone through that. You know, if I'm being honest with you, like recently, even my mom asked me like, "What's changed? You know, like, you're different. You seem like you're, you know, staying busier and stuff."
That's awesome.
I decided myself that I'm tired of times not being busy. Just sitting around, and so I used that to my advantage. You know, in self-awareness, and instead of feeling sorry for myself, you know, continuing to put myself in a situation.
Exactly.
It's like, I know what needs to be done. I know that, you know, these are the things that I can do for this outcome, whether it's financially or, you know, a feeling of freedom. Or, you know, a value with friends and how much I'm contributing to friends or whatnot. You know, any number of things, because it's a really broad spectrum. Recognizing that and deciding to take action on it, rather than
just talking about it,
happening the way they are.
Because I used,
really big for me.
because I used to be, you know, I guess at a point in life too, where I was like, well, why are we struggling? You know, like, how come he's not making enough for fuel? Like, come on, you know. But like I said, once you stop kind of feeling sorry for yourself, I think everything just changes, man. You just kind of throw everything in the back, and you look at the challenge straight into the eye, man. I think that's what it is, you know. So every time I face a challenge, I just look at it straight into the eye, man. Whatever I need to do, you know, however many hours I need to make or put in, or I don't ask, you know. I just accept it as it is, and it's a done deal. But the thing with me is, like, I already know, I guess, what I'm capable of. So when I set a goal, in my mind, it's already done. It's just a matter of time before, you know, it actually is done. Yeah, so that's how sure I am of myself.
Well, there was another thing you said too that I really liked, that I didn't touch on it, I'm forgetting, but we'll just keep talking. Let's just slipped my mind. I can't remember.
Oh no, you're good, man.
I'll think about it. Keep talking to me. I'm gonna do something while you're talking.
No, you're good. Well, yeah, these are some of the things that I've pretty much picked up on, growing up. Like I said, everyone goes through different things and different scenarios. And I feel like depending on that, you end up either growing up faster or eventually you just do with time,
Yeah. I know what you mean with that. I kind of like that as like a little outro too.
Yeah.
That hurt. That was so bad. I really wish I remember what that was. Dang, it came to my mind twice, but I didn't want to interrupt.
No, you're good, man.
I can't remember. I'm sure it'll come to me in some.
Yeah. No,
All right. So we kind of covered a lot of
yeah.
angles and all that stuff. I even kind of threw in the debt thing there because I know it's kind of the opposite of saving.
Yeah.
Not quite relative, but it is because
Yeah.
I think that it's becoming more and more popular to just get into
Yeah.
credit card debt or whatever. Because
Yeah.
it's almost easier.
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
Exactly.
We've got so much instant gratification
Yeah.
as a species anymore that it's really easy to kind of fall into
Yep,
debt
without knowing.
like that. So that's why I kind of figured I'd throw that in there because, adding to the knowledge of how to save, knowledge of, like I said, we'll have to do like a whole video on it sometime.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah,
Just
for
kind of
sure.
a little bit of knowledge on how not to get into it too.
Yeah.
But it's not needed.
Yeah.
Because it might not be putting yourself in credit card debt to buy coffee every day, but you're putting yourself in a lack of savings debt.
Exactly. Yeah.
By doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of, it's not that you're owing money to a loan holder, you're owing money to the product, but then you're not getting it back. It doesn't have, it's
Yeah.
actually even worse than that because you're not getting anything from it. At least when you buy a house, you get the house payment.
Yeah.
Spend $5
Yeah,
on
exactly.
coffee at Starbucks, like,
Yeah.
you go up and down, maybe you have a little more energy that
Yeah.
day. Maybe you get some more done. Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Especially if people are buying coffee when they don't have work.
Yeah.
Use
I don't
coffee
know.
when you got something to get done.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, I guess I just like to, I guess when I reward myself, it's kind of like a celebration, Like literally, like let's say, I would work 6 days straight, all day. I just work my butt off. It's Saturday night, and I'm craving something, That's my reward. That's my little celebration for what? For working Monday through Saturday, working my butt off, getting up early all day. Like that's an accomplishment for me, And so I mean, I kind of take it as a reward, like as a celebration. Like I said, it's not like, cause it's just like anything else, Like if you were to celebrate your birthday every day, you're gonna be like, dude, what the heck? No, exactly. So like that's kind of how I take it, It's like I make sure that I earn it first. I reward myself, and I take it as a celebration, and then I reset, And so
the resets, I think.
yeah,
One of the most
it's very important.
That kind of, I think, would be a good way to not just answer, but kind of touch on how I asked how to kind of cope, or not
Yeah.
just cope, but maintain.
Yeah,
The active
maintain.
savings.
Yep.
Would be just that to
It's how you.
reset.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like breaking goals down.
Yeah,
They say
into
success
steps.
is goals, broken into
Yeah, into
steps. And
steps.
everything.
Yeah,
And so savings is kind of the same thing.
it
That's why
is.
I mentioned that there's a system to money. Money
Yeah,
is numbers, and numbers work one way. And once you at least learn enough about how that works,
yeah,
then you can look at more of a routine and look at
exactly.
not looking at, how can I save X amount of money
Right.
in 5 years, but how can I save X amount every week?
Every week,
And
exactly.
maintain
Yeah,
doing that each week.
exactly. Yeah, and like I tell people, it's like it's just a matter of time.
Days are broken down into weeks.
Yeah,
And weeks are broken down into days.
yeah. And like I said earlier.
For people that move really fast, days are broken down into hours.
Yeah.
Save every week, save every day,
Yeah.
save every hour.
And I mean, but that's why you gotta do what works for you, you know? I mean, some people get paid every day, some every 2 weeks, some once a month.
Right.
So, you know, so you gotta break everything down. I mean, if you gotta write stuff down, I mean, go for it, you know?
No, that's
Yeah.
a good way.
Yeah.
I've learned over the years of, whether it's business stuff or putting together a grocery list,
Mm-hmm.
Christmas list, so
Yeah.
getting presents. I've definitely learned, firsthand how important note taking is, and
Yeah.
creating lists and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've got a goal list on my phone as my desktop. Anytime I open my phone,
There you go.
it's always there. So like sometimes I don't quite notice it or like
Yeah.
it, but it's intentionally there rather than just having some picture.
Yeah.
Made the note and it got lost in my list of notes, and I
Yeah.
didn't look at it again.
There you
So
go.
I think that writing down
It's
a
huge.
list can
Yeah.
definitely help.
Yeah.
Some people probably do fine with it.
Yeah.
Really work a lot better with a reminder.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
No, yeah, like I said, I mean, you gotta be realistic to yourself and basically not lie to yourself. You know, if you cannot save half of your check, well, then don't do that, you know? But if you can save $5 every day, then just do that. And so,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's a good
man.
place to start, 'cause
yeah,
5 is 10 is 20
yeah.
is 30. Cool.
Well, like I said, yeah, man, I mean, people probably don't do it because they're not sure of it or because they don't have the answers, but it's not rocket science, man.
Yeah.
You know, like I said earlier, you know, you can't pause time, you can't rewind time, excuse me. You know, time keeps going, so before you know it, man, you're gonna have a pile, you know,
Right.
for whatever you want, like I said, you know.
Yeah, right. Because that's the thing. Like, everybody's different. I might want
Yeah,
savings for something else. Everybody's got a want and a desire. So
yeah,
whatever that may be, if you want to save $10,000 so you can buy a car, so you can put a down payment on a house, so you can go on
Yeah.
vacation, so you can have funds to start a family,
yeah,
pay for a wedding. Like, there's so
yeah,
many things that
exactly, man. It's
high-ticket items
never
that
ending.
You don't.
Emergencies,
Yeah, emergencies.
You
having
know?
a
Yeah.
safe net.
yeah,
Because there's nothing worse, especially like, with the times the way they are now. Like anybody
Yeah.
that didn't have savings and got put out of work, and then the pandemic hit, totally screwed.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
they're
No, yeah,
stressed
exactly,
out,
man.
Don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
Whatever. But people that have a savings aren't as worried. So they've got that bit of a safety
Yeah,
net. And
exactly.
you know that any amount of time they're living on a savings is taking away from actually putting it back into it.
Yeah,
So it's an awareness of kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Is important. But
no, yeah, like I said, I mean,
having it, putting in that equity.
yeah, I mean, like, it's always better to be prepared, man. Like I said, I don't want to ever feel like useless again, you know, or just
Having a
I guess-
savings is saving yourself.
exactly,
Put
you
that
know,
on a shirt.
yeah,
Like that.
yeah,
Cool. So, like I said, we've kind of covered a lot
for sure.
in a little bit. Like,
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Not just time, because we're almost
Yeah.
to an hour now, actually.
Oh wow, okay,
But as far as a topic, I think we
Yeah.
covered quite a bit.
I think yeah.
How would you kind of? So here's where we're kind of looking to close it.
Mm-hmm.
I would just kind of recap everything that we said. Kind of put maybe for a minute here. I was thinking maybe a list of like 5 tips or so, like direct tips. Like
Direct
tip
tips.
1, tip 2,
Okay.
or something like that. Or just kind of a quick recap.
Yeah.
Quick closing. And with
Well-
that, and when we get to the end of that, then we can pause and kind of go over it again. But
Okay.
add in something just like we said. Hey, and welcome back to another episode. Can I say something like,
Yeah.
thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Just that simple. But let's start with the recap.
Okay. Yeah. Well, definitely, I think patience for sure. Patience is one of them. Like I said earlier too, you need to ask yourself the question of how bad you want it, and you gotta be honest with yourself. You gotta be realistic that whatever you do, save X amount, is actually going to work, and it's actually not going to sink you down. You have to earn to eventually be able to save also, though. Like, let's say, obviously we're all in debt, but like, let's say you're like up to your neck, definitely focus on paying. Thank you guys for watching this podcast. I hope you guys learned something from it. And yeah, stay tuned for the next podcast.